I'm Dave. People know me and what I've been doing. They know I've been kind of active in the startup community, and very few people really know about North Bank. That's why you hear North Bank a lot. We're talking about it because people know Dave and they don't know North Bank. Right, so I'm going to give it a little bit of shape. North Bank was put together because I was involved with the startup community down in Portland and was doing meetup work and talking to investors and the founders and pulling people together and kind of working behind the scenes. And in 2000, I had actually moved over here for a startup that I was working with. And so all the work I was doing was commuting down. And very interestingly, somebody says, "What are you doing in Clark County?" And I'm like, "Nothing." What do you mean? And somebody said, "Oh, well, you should meet Max Alt." And Max Alt used to work right on the other side of this desk at CRDC, and he was the most connected, energetic guy that was just building kind of the economic fabric of the county. And I met with him, and he's like, "Well, we need a startup scene over here. Let's do it." And I'm like, "Well, okay, but you don't just light a wet match and do that. You got to have people." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, let's talk to Eric Price." Eric Price was in the room right down the hall where he was starting garage games, and he had started a group called Vanteki. And he had probably, I don't know, there were probably about 100 people, and he would meet over at Dirty Hands Brewing, and we'd have probably like 6 people that would show up, and just a great hangout meeting, right? And so Max and Eric and I got together and said, well, there's a ton going on over in Portland. What are we doing over here? And Max basically said, well, nothing unless you do it. And if you're a founder, you watch out when people say that to you, because I immediately went, okay, let's go. And so because I needed some sort of tax umbrella, otherwise my wife would have absolutely shot me while I was funding a ton of stuff that she didn't understand, I set up North Bank. And it was really kind of tasked with doing events, right? The main deal was that it was going to do events. And it was going to pull people together. And some of that was going to have programming and some of that wasn't. Really certain, I think it was 2017, we ended up doing a test accelerator program. We had 5 companies come through, taught them go-to-market strategy. Really, really simple stuff, right? No, it took us 8 weeks, which probably should have taken us 12. But it was great. We had a showcase at the end of it. All the companies, I say that not all the companies are still in business. One of them has likely gone out of business, but they're still kind of evolving and growing. That was Janus Sanders was building an amazing rail-mounted gun camera. Chris was building a growler company. It had come out of UKEG. Somebody was building an apparel brand. Adam was building a drone company, and the other was Michael Pan's Mushroom Jerky. I don't know if you guys know him. He's been kind of a local success. And it just really started off this great, great journey of finding ways that we could help in meaningful ways. And so that's what we've done. That's what North Bank is. It's been that shell. And we founded 2017, and then COVID shut the world down, right? We're just getting some momentum. We're getting about 50 people that were coming out to Vanteki. We're starting to do some really interesting programming, and the world shuts down. And I made the decision that I didn't want to do virtual. Everybody was kind of leaning into how to build virtually, and I just never felt like that really made the connections I wanted to. So I kind of shelved it. Made it through COVID. Coming out of this, I had met Charles. Charles was on the board of North Bank, and I was an independent consultant at doing design work and was a contract CMO at another company. Coming out of COVID, I was leaving that company. I said, I had decided I was leaving that company, and just having lunch with Charles and said, I don't know, I'm probably going to leave that company and go on to do something else. And I always would quip with, I don't know, maybe I'll find another job. and I've been freelance for 25 years, so that's not a normal thing. Charles was crazy and gracious enough to hire me over at Foremost. And that was at the end of, that was 2020. And then I'm in a new job. So North Bank has not been on the shelf, but it's been one of those things that as Vancouver is starting to come into its own, people are leaning back in and they're coming back in and engaging. We're coming back together as community. And so there's a really, really amazing timing to start pulling people back together and fostering startups. So that's the genesis of North Bank, how we kind of got here. The reason why Vancouver, I think, is really, really important. Washington is a really, it's a massive state. It's got 4 times the economy of Oregon, and we live in such proximity to Portland that we kind of forget. We act and think like a suburb. The reality is that Seattle is actually about 470 billion of that economy, and that is larger than all of Oregon. And we forget that, right? Because all we hear is Portland, 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 Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Portland, right? And what we forget is that Washington is a real economic powerhouse in the region, and we kind of lose all that because we've been down in the south end. I call us the latchkey kids, right? The child of divorce. That Portland thinks Olympia takes care of us, and Olympia thinks that Portland takes care of us. And so we end up just without a lot of support and success. And support looks very different in a bunch of different ways. But that was kind of the reasoning behind putting North Bank here and really kind of focusing on the things that are different about Oregon, or the things that are different about Washington, and what opportunities are there. So when you start to see some of the relationships and some of the sponsors that are coming in, it's really North Bank pulling the state together to give this region a lot more vitality. And they're very interested in it. WTIA specifically has not been doing this for a very long time. They offer incredible benefits, some of which haven't been available in Clark County, and that's changing. So there's a health program that wasn't available, and that is now. So building some of those relationships starts to create more opportunity for all of us here, not just within our business, but like Charles mentioned, connecting founders inside of a community, right? We can be the community stitching piece to what goes on. So that's me. That's why I did North Bank. Here's what I hope about you. You have a startup. You have an idea for a startup. You're thinking about something. You want to learn more what it's like. Learning from people that have built something exceptional, or maybe even want to work for a startup. I would say my history has always been backstage. Never been the founder, never been up front, but I've been co-founder in probably 6 different startups at different stages. And I know that I love the energy of it, have a lot to contribute, but I would never be, this is my idea, I want to step out, I want to do this. That classic founder role has never been me until North Bank, I guess. But anyway, that being said, I'd love to find out a little bit about you guys, if I can advance the slide. We've got a big program. I want to make sure we're not taking too much time out of Kyle's time, but I'd love to find out a little bit about who's in the room, what you guys are doing. So if you want to get up, tell us your name, tell us your company, and then give us just 12 seconds. We don't need the whole pitch, not even an elevator pitch. This is the 2-sentence pitch. But if you want to let us know who you are and what you're doing, I would love to hear that. Anybody brave enough to go first? Go, Isaac.
My name's Isaac. I am the CTO of a company called PlantBid. We sell commercial landscaping supplies. If any of you need 10,000 trees, come let me know. I'll get you 10,000 trees.
I like it. A lot of people want to buy 10,000 trees?
Yes, who doesn't?
We are Pacific Northwest. Yeah. Anybody else?
My name is Brad. I'm part of one of the founders of Podgic. We're a pet smart collar to detect future diseases, eating habits, water intake, and a lot of other techie stuff that we can detect things later down the road. as far as future diseases and whatnot.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah.
Miriam Valdivia Romero. I am founder, coach, consultant for leadership. Beyond the technical skills, we may have the knowledge, the education, but if you're not doing it, there's a reason why. So I coach women of color and leaders that manage women of color.
Awesome. Very cool.
My name is Nathan. I'm co-founder and CEO of a company called Newflect. Think neurons and reflect. We're an application, SaaS application, so that whenever you leave your physical therapist or your personal trainer, you actually have a video of what the exercises were you were doing. You can access it at home. You can communicate with the physical therapist or personal trainer. So yeah, that's our company.
Nice. We should definitely catch up. A couple people to talk to. Michael? I'm going to put you on the spot. You came up.
I'm Michael from Portland. Sorry for invading.
By invitation. We want you over here.
Find an address to use in Vancouver. I'm the co-founder of a SaaS app called Margin. That's in profit margin, spelled with a J instead of a G, which might be a clue as to what we aspire to be, which is the spot market for cannabis, legal cannabis, which means our users are only licensees, so you have to have a license to even use it, so it's hard to show you, or you can't just go download it and see it. And we are not the spot market today. We're confronting the cold start, trying to get that network built. And so today we're just some cool tools for Metric, which is the system that in 20 states you are required to use by law. So as you can imagine, it's awful, like this government-made software would be. And so we are like the nice sort of 2020 interface for
Yeah.
that terrible piece of software.
Yeah.
That's what we are today.
I love
We're
it.
going to build a network and become the sponsor.
I love it. Cool. I don't want to pass anybody else. Yeah?
My name is Ahmad. I'm one of the founders of RDA Pro, which is over-the-air repairs diagnostic for commercial equipment, using existing communications that are now built into equipment that allows us to trunk and be able to do the same thing and save thousands of dollars for users.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Hello everyone, good to meet you all. So I'm a founder and CEO of a marketplace platform doing aviation education, more focusing on one-on-one online live training. And so right now it's just 2 months old, and if you're doing something related to education, marketplace or aviation, let me know. I would love to talk to you about more. Thank you.
Awesome. So you guys are why I do this. It really is. This community is amazing. We talk about kind of the stages of a startup. I'm going to jump into, if you were here last month or looked at the video, Charles presented this slide and talked about this. The reason that I love what you guys are doing is because a lot of times behind the scenes as investors, operators, educators, right, and people putting on programs, we see a lot of stuff that you as a founder don't. And so I'm not going to go in depth into this because I want to lean into something that I heard when I was talking to Kyle. And I think it's huge, and hopefully it kind of tees up some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. So in a spectrum of a beginning stage company to a more successful startup, right? A startup is an experiment. So coming up with an idea of there's a problem out here and then this is how I'm going to fix it. That's the idea and concept happens very quickly. Then you start putting in time and you put in money and maybe you're getting a couple people that are involved and maybe you build an MVP. It's really easy to get to this stage. Right? It's really easy because that's done alone, right? That's what you do when you're sitting, you're trying to get to sleep and you're chewing through these things or you're building out PowerPoints or if you're a programmer, you're building out prototypes. That stuff's easy, right? It's when you start to get into the market. Validation is not when you talk to your mother-in-law and they say, oh, that's a wonderful idea, you should do that. That's emotionally validating. That's not business validating. Right? And we really need to kind of start getting there. and addressing that, because this is the valley of death. This is where all the companies fail. When you get through that, you're starting to prove that you've got market traction, that people want what you're going to make, and then you need logistically to figure out how to do it. Because what you're doing is you're building an experiment, and now it becomes real. And now you need systems, process, money, you need a bunch of other things. So to break the idea, I would say, we hear it all the time, I have an idea, I just need somebody that's going to give me $5 million. Newsflash, nobody's going to give you the 5. If your launch plan involves somebody giving you $5 million, you need a new plan. Straight up. And then as you're going through this, establishing is another very different thing, where you start to talk about the strategy of exits or acquisition, or envisioning the next stage for where this thing goes. So Y Combinator, one of the kind of premier accelerators, would say, make things that people want. Right? If you don't do this, if you're not teed up to do this, that's where you're going to sit in the valley of death, and you're going to be hosed. You're not going to be able to kind of execute. Right? So the other thing I would come back, and I would reframe this just a little bit, if my button works, is I would say make what markets want. Right? Make what the market wants. Because we talk about it all the time, but I don't think we dig in enough to talk about what product market fit is. Right? A product market fit is when you have proven that people will pay for what you're going to produce for less money than it's going to take you to build it or get them. Right? And we miss that. And that means you can't conceptualize this stuff. The difference of what you do in your basement and to get this stuff originally started just isn't enough. It's not going to get out there, because if you're a founder, I don't know that you realize this, and I hate to break the bubble, not everybody thinks like you, right? 90% of the market is not early adopters. You may live in early adopters. This is kind of an interesting bubble, right? Because there's a lot of early adopters, right? But so getting some validation about what's going on there is helpful, but it doesn't help the people that are going to pay you. So getting into product market fit is key to getting through that valley of death. Right? That is the goal of getting it. And so you can have every strategy in the world. That strategy doesn't matter before that, because your strategy is just get to this. Figure out what people want. And the only way to do that really is to just launch, get it out there. Everybody's sitting there trying to figure it out, make it the best, change the color, change the flow, the UX. And if you're not getting out there and talking to people and just finding out from the real people that will pay you, you're not doing a startup. And then what your job is to learn from that, right? In a real and meaningful way. I meet too many founders that they say we're supposed to be the number one salesperson, right? And so what we do is we sell, and we sell everybody. When somebody asks us what we do, we're selling what we're doing. And if you're on a process of learning what people need, you can't do it if you're talking to them and selling them and pushing them and telling them why what you do is great. Because their experience could be very, very different. And you need to start digesting that and building loops where you're iterating and building that. Right? So that you take what you learned in the market, not conceptualizing that this is something new, but you're actually kind of learning from the people that you're trying to sell to what is different. What does it do that you like? What doesn't it do that you want it to do? All these sorts of things, right? They become critical. And we miss this loop. We really miss this loop as founders. So this is really critical. And what that means is you're going to fail. It means you're going to do something that you thought was right. And that hurts. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to hear this thing sucks. I don't like this, right? Founders have to have thick skin. This is part of the reason that starting a company is so lonely, is because nobody's really kind of digesting this, internalizing this vision that you have of crystallizing something and making it, and you're going to continually bump up against that and fail. And I think the lesson that we talk about was I'm You got me in? Cool, thanks. That the real lesson out of that is that you're trying to fail better. You will consistently fail. And if you don't put yourself on that front line of failing, then you literally are going to stifle yourself and stifle your growth, and you're going to be stuck in the same position forever. Right? And I meet too many founders, I think we call it being baked in the squat. The idea, I don't even know where that came from.
Zig Ziglar.
It's Zig Ziglar. The idea that you're getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready to get ready, right? That you're sitting there, and YC would say this. I was just listening to a video this morning talking about YC, Y Combinator, that was saying this exact same thing, is the number one point of founder failure is that they're not getting out and actually talking to the people that they're trying to sell to. Because it's hard. It's really hard.